You ever get that feeling in a stadium just before kickoff when the lights are bright but the air tastes like a rumor? That's what Pittsburgh felt like this week. One short, careful post from Josina Anderson. There's a longtime NFL head coach considering wanting a change of scenery, landed like a pebble that kicked up a cloud of questions about a team everyone assumes is steady by habit. Suddenly, the sideline felt less like a place of certainty and more like a hinge. X, formerly Twitter. Mike Tomlin is the obvious name people whisper because of what he represents. Stability, stubbornness, and a very long resume. He's been in that office since 2007, and in an era that eats coaches alive, he's one of the few who hasn't taken a losing season under his watch. That kind of resume doesn't just buy goodwill, it builds an identity for a franchise. When a rumor suggests that the man who's been the Steelers' constant might be considering a different view out of his window, it doesn't feel like gossip. It feels like the start of a small earthquake. CBS News. Let's be honest about what makes that whisper dangerous. Context. The Steelers aren't a broken team, but they're not the unshakable force they were a decade ago. Playoff wins have been scarce, public patience has thinned, and every loss looks louder than it used to. When a team that once measured its seasons by ironclad continuity starts getting stories about wanting a change, fans don't just speculate, they project. They map their frustrations onto the person who threads the identity together. That's part of why Josina's line spread so fast. It didn't create the tension so much as name the pressure that was already there. But there's another, quieter angle to this. Coaches are human. Coaching isn't just game plans and X's and O's. It's travel, negotiations with a front office about players you didn't draft, and decades of wearing your life in public. After nearly 2 decades, the same locker room rhythm and press cycle treadmill can feel less like mission and more like maintenance. Wanting a change of scenery isn't necessarily a resignation. Sometimes it's a mid-career recalibration. If Tomlin really were thinking about stepping away or testing the market, it could be less dramatic than it reads. A desire for novelty, a chance to teach somewhere else, or even a bargaining stance with ownership about resources and expectations. Pro football rumors. Here's the messy truth. If Tomlin did walk, the ripple would be huge. The Steelers are one of the few franchises that trades coaches like heirlooms, rare and carefully kept. The Rooney family's DNA is wrapped around continuity, and replacing a coach who has never produced a losing season isn't a simple personnel move. It would shift everything: scouting philosophy, roster construction, identity, and free agency. A new coach changes the playbook on day one. It changes who gets opportunities, who gets mentored, and which veterans stick around. The price of a fresh start is often the thing fans say they want most: time, patience, and uncertainty. Yardbarker. But before the pitchforks come out for or against Tomlin, consider the bargaining power inherent in a rumor like this. Coaches who've been around a long time sometimes use the idea of leaving as leverage, a way to get ownership to invest differently, to loosen purse strings, or to promise a clearer mandate. Dropping a public hint that you might want a new challenge can force conversations in ownership suites that whispers alone cannot. That's not bad faith. It's part of the modern negotiation toolbox, where real change usually happens behind closed doors. The trick is separating genuine intent from strategic posturing. X, formerly Twitter. There's also the fan psychology. In Pittsburgh, Tomlin is both beloved and oddly reviled. Loved because he's kept the franchise afloat in an era of turnover, reviled because the playoffs have been an old bruise the team hasn't fully healed. Fans who want change will see a rumor like Anderson's as vindication. Fans who fear change will see it as a harbinger of chaos. That split is critical because it shows how much of this story is less about personnel and more about identity. What do Steelers fans want to be? A franchise that values continuity, or one that chases the next shiny idea in hopes of recapturing glory? Yardbarker, what happens next is in a way boring and important. The league will scratch the surface of the rumor. Reporters will call sources, ownership will be asked if they're worried, agents will quietly text. Tomlin will coach the next game, as coaches do, and the team will try to win. If there's an actual shift, it will be a conversation in a hotel meeting room, not a Twitter thread. If there isn't, the rumor will recede like a summer storm, leaving some damp spots but no lasting damage. Either way, The real test for Pittsburgh is not who owns the rumor, but how the team responds on Sundays. Results quiet rumors faster than PR ever can. X, formerly Twitter. And here's the human image that sticks. A sideline at dusk, Tomlin with a headset, breath visible in the cold, eyes on a field that's been his for years. Behind him is a front office that has built stability around his name. In front of him is a locker room that still buys what he sells. Resilience, intensity, a refusal to quit. The question the rumor forces is this: who do you trust more, the steady, familiar tenor of experience, or the electric promise of a reset? Both answers cost something. Neither is wrong by itself. CBS News. If you want a takeaway to carry to the bar or into a comment thread, rumors don't topple dynasties. Bad weeks do. A coach deciding quietly he wants a fresh start is understandable. A coach being forced out is news. For now, this is the kind of whisper that will make the phone calls louder and the boardroom conversations sharper. But on Sunday, the scoreboard will translate rumor into reality or bury it with scores and stats. So watch the next few days. The press conferences where owners say all the right things, the insider feeds that noodle at motive, and the practice reports that smell of routine. The grand drama might never arrive. Or it might begin with a single text, one handshake, and a veteran coach deciding that after 18 years, he wants a different skyline. Either way, remember this. In the NFL, legacy is both the currency and the debt. When a whisper asks whether a longtime coach wants a change of scenery, it's not just a question for a man, it's a question for a franchise about who it wants to be next. That X, formerly Twitter. Rumors are cheap, but timing makes them dangerous. Josina Anderson dropped a line about a longtime NFL head coach quietly telling people he's eyeing a change of scenery, and the internet instantly bought a ticket to Speculation City. If you live in Pittsburgh, that ticket probably had Mike Tomlin's name on it before the ink could dry. And yeah, the timing is delicious. A team that's sputtering, a fan base tired of the same refrains, and a coach whose resume reads legendary in black and gold. Let's be blunt. Tomlin is both the least and most likely candidate to walk out the door. Least likely because he's a pillar. 18 seasons, a Super Bowl, never had a losing year. That kind of tenure breeds institutional trust and a contract that makes sudden exits rare. Most likely because people are human. Stale routines, pressure, and the unique fatigue that comes from staying in one place while expectations pile up can make even the most legendary coaches consider a reset. Josina didn't name names, but context does a lot of work. Tomlin checks the long time box, and he's coaching in a city that's loud enough to make any coach think twice. How serious is considering a change of scenery? There's a spectrum. On one end is a wistful private musing. Maybe it'd be nice to try something new someday. On the other end is active campaigning, callers, meetings, and tangible plans to leave. Until we see deeds, it's smoke, not flame. But smoke matters because it forces institutions to react. Owners notice, agents notice, media run with narratives that can become self-fulfilling. If you're a team executive, a whispered "he wants out" becomes a strategic variable. You either preemptively plan for rotation, or you double down on supporting your coach publicly to calm the room. Why would Tomlin want out? The list isn't glamorous. Pressure to win, a sense of diminishing returns, or simply the itch for a new chapter. 18 years in one place is a rare human experiment. The daily grind of the NFL, 24/7 season, media, travel, and constant roster puzzles, takes a toll. Even the greatest coaches sometimes want fresh air. If Tomlin is privately thinking about it, it doesn't necessarily mean betrayal. It could mean he's evaluating legacy, family time, or a new professional challenge on his own terms. Now the organizational consequences. If Tomlin actually pulls a move, the Steelers instantly become the hottest vacancy in coaching seasons. Top-tier candidates would circle. Pittsburgh is a blue-chip resume marker for any coach. Passionate fan base, deep tradition, and the resources to compete. But it's also the harshest room to lose in. Expectations there are uniquely unforgiving. A Tomlin exit would set off a market ripple. Assistant coach